Hello and welcome into the Skraby Show for March 24th, 2025. Thank you so much for being here with me. You know who's still here with me, which is kind of freaking me out a little bit, is that Chris is usually gone by the time this show starts. Chris is still in his chair right now.
I'm supposed to go to some homeowners meeting with my wife as soon as I arrive home. So
I'm wait, you're using the studio as an excuse?
Trying to delay that homeowners meeting a little bit. Doesn't sound too fun to me.
No. What are you guys going to talk about at the homeowners meeting?
I don't know. I might just sit here and have my wife report to me later.
Wow. that is kind of brutal. But yes, Chris is in studio. He'll be leaving soon because he's going to make his way to this homeowners meeting. I bet you they're going to talk about grass types. They're going to talk about someone had their sprinklers on.
You can be sure it'll be something I don't care about.
Okay. Well, we're going to need a report tomorrow, Chris. We're going to need a report tomorrow. But we have a lot going on in the Skraby Show tonight. We're going to talk about the Padres roster moves, and it's pretty much done. The roster is pretty much set. Also, we're going to talk about what are we looking at for Jackson Merrill this year, because he had some quotes over the weekend that I wanted to relay to everyone. Also, I read this whole thing about the automated balls and strike system that the Athletic put out, and I cannot believe how good actual umpires are right now with their accuracy, because it's gone up 7% in the last 15 years. So people are getting better, but we'll talk about that. And then there is something new at Petco Park that we will talk about, and it has to do with ordering your food. It has changed. You know, the people that go, popcorn, hey, I got your popcorn. They don't have it anymore. Chris just gave me the look. I'm going to explain that later, but they're saying there will be no vendors walking the aisles selling beer, peanuts, popcorn, cotton candy, ice cream, and other treats for increased safety. So we'll get to that a little bit later. Also, we have to talk about the Aztecs and Magoon Guath / Nick Boyd. They have both entered the transfer portal, although Magoon Guath entered the transfer portal today. Nick Boyd entered the transfer portal last week, and we'll talk about that. We spent a lot of time talking. We spent a lot of time talking about Magoon Guath and the transfer portal and what are the Aztecs going to do during Quinn and Chris. But we definitely need to talk about it here on the Skraby Show as well. So I know that people are just getting into their car right now, getting off work, maybe haven't been keeping up on the news of the day. But the news of the day would be the Padres roster situation. We'll get to that in just a second. I just want to say thanks again to everyone that came down to Dave & Buster's on Friday. It was awesome. And I had several people from this company, Odyssey, and also from Dave & Buster's say that the Skrabinator people really made it. All the Skrabinators showed up, and they showed out, as Chris said earlier, because the Skrabinators, you all supported me. I'm not worthy of the Skrabinators, I can tell you that. But we had a good old time. I stayed a little bit after and talked to some people. So thanks to everybody. Seriously, I mean this 100%. Thank you for coming down and making that a success, because we can do more things like that. As long as the Skrabinators show that they'll show up, we can do more cool things and fun things like that. So appreciate everybody coming down on Friday. And I didn't talk about this with Chris during the show, but there was something that I thought about all weekend long in regards to Dave & Buster's on Friday, and that would be my horrible Papa Shot results. I only got like 16 points with my best, which is so gross to me. I thought about it all weekend long because I was talking trash, and I really thought that I was going to be able to put up at least 30. 30 would have been easy. 30 would have been something I thought I could do in my sleep. But I got 16. 16, which is brutal for a guy who's talking a bunch of trash about doing the Papa Shot thing. So bad. My dad played college basketball. I have a decent shot, but I did not do well during this thing at Dave & Buster's. It was embarrassing. Can't believe it. Can't believe people actually watch me do that. It was just bad. So if we ever do a Dave and Buster's thing again, I'm going to request that we do the football throwing one where you have to throw the football through each hole in there. I was good at that one, but here I am talking trash again. I'm good at the football one. I said I was good at the basketball one too. So am I really just telling myself that I think I'm way better at these games than I really am? Probably. But the football one, boom. Let's see. Jacob, who was there on Friday night, said the high score was like 72. That's an NBA score. I agree with that. It is an NBA score. Anyway, Dave and Buster's, very, very, very fun. I was exhausted after Dave and Buster's. I was completely 100% just dead after Dave and Buster's, but it was good. It was all for a good cause. It was all for a good reason, and I am happy to have met everyone there. Now, let's get into the news of the day, which is the Padres roster situation. So they have basically chosen all 26 spots on the roster. And here are the guys that look like they're going to make the roster. Now, all of this can change here in the next couple days, but these guys are more than likely, and sources say have already been told they're going to be on the roster. But Yuli Gurriel is going to be on the roster. Jose Iglesias is going to be on the roster. Martin Maldonado is going to be on the roster. And Gavin Sheets is going to be on the roster. Plus, Brandon Lockridge has also made the team. So that means there were some 100% tough decisions for the Padres to make here, because some of these guys are going to have to go through waivers. And I bet you both of the guys who are going in waivers aren't going to, they will be claimed by someone. So there probably will not be Padres this year. And that would be Tyler Wade and Eggy Rosario. Also, Brett Sullivan was told on Saturday that he was going to go on waivers. So he still has to make it through. Or I guess Sullivan was DFA'd, which, he's out of options. So he has to clear waivers first before anything happens. So he could, I guess, these three guys could come back to the team, but it's kind of a long shot. Now, Tyler Wade's the one that I did not think would I didn't think that he would work his way off the team. And I'm not saying that he was so bad in spring training that he worked his way off the team, but the competition was so good in spring training that there were basically four guys for one spot before Brandon Lockridge made the team, before he was given the last spot. And that is heavy competition. Connor Joe, when they signed Connor Joe, I didn't think that he would not make the opening day roster, but he has options, so it's okay. You got guys like outfielder Oscar Gonzalez, who had a really nice spring. He was kind of forgotten a little bit during spring, but he is not going to be on the roster to start the year. I don't know that he was like a lock for the roster or anything like that beforehand. Oscar Gonzalez has worked his way through spring training, being a pretty good, option. And Brandon Lockridge proved to all of us throughout spring training how good he can actually be. But these sort of moves right here tell you how much depth the Padres have. And that's the main takeaway from all of this, is that their depth is good. They have Connor Joe. They have Oscar Gonzalez. They have someone like they have Luis Campusano, who's also going to be going to AAA. He's not going to be on the roster. But if you look at those guys that have been actually named to the roster, Yuli Gurriel, Jose Iglesias, Martin Maldonado, Gavin Sheets, and Brandon Lockridge, I don't necessarily feel amazing about that. Now, I was reading about Martin Maldonado and why he made the team. And the reason that they're saying that he made the team is the Padres pitching staff, the Padres coaching staff, pretty much everyone who's been working with the pitchers and catchers this spring training has said that his work behind the plate and his ability to handle a pitching staff has had rave reviews from everyone. And so ultimately, even though Luis Campusano had a bigger or better batting average and hit better than Maldonado did, they're going to start him out in AAA. And I think I don't know that of course, if any injuries happen or anything like that, we'll see Luis Campusano. But how much more longer? How long do you think the Padres are going to stick with this? How long do you think the Padres are going to continue to put resources into Luis Campusano? I don't know if it's like if they're thinking that there's still something there, or if they're keeping him because he's depth, or if they're keeping him because they think he can develop. But at this point, I think we all kind of know what Luis Campusano is going to give you. And I don't know how much longer the Padres are going to, try to develop Luis Campusano. And he's been on the team, I think, 6 seasons. So it's not like he hasn't had the time to do this. He's had a long time to figure to put his best foot forward. It's not right foot forward, best foot forward, and try to capture that catcher spot, because it's been open for him. He just hasn't been able to hold on to it. Last year, he started out a little. Last year he started out pretty good, pretty well, hitting wise, but his defense wasn't there. And then throughout the season, he wasn't hitting, and his defense was struggling, so they had him go back to AAA. But again, I don't know how long they're going to continue to do the Luis Campusano experiment, because it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And sometimes this happens with guys, and then he may go somewhere else, and he may find that team is going to give him, maybe that team is better at developing catchers. Stranger things have happened before, but I don't know how much longer they're going to put time and effort into that. But again, I think that Tyler Wade is someone who I thought was going to be on this roster, and maybe I was too premature in thinking that. Maybe I just gave him the spot because they tendered him a contract, and Tyler Wade was a part of the team last year. Guys love him. He's a good clubhouse guy. So maybe I didn't think about it like this, but if you look, he didn't have a great spring. And so if you are if you're someone who's trying to make a team, and someone who has, I would say that Tyler Wade had the what is it? The foot. I don't know. Why am I struggling with phrases today? He had the right of first refusal, I guess I could say. He was already there on the team. And so someone had to beat him out to make this team, and someone did beat him out to make this team. I think he's going to go on waivers, and I think he's going to end up heading somewhere else. Someone's going to pick him up. Same with Eggy Rosario. I think that he's going to be picked up on waivers as well. But that's another one. Maybe Eggy one day we look down the line and he's Brent Rooker, and we might say, oh, well, they shouldn't have gotten rid of him. But he wasn't, he was good during spring training, but he wasn't great. And I don't think they saw the consistency with him the last couple of years. And so that's why he was out of options, and they had to put him on waivers. So the one thing, though, that I really don't have lots of questions about is whether or not Yuli Gurriel and Martin Maldonado, and I'll even put Jose Iglesias, because we haven't really seen much from him here in spring training. He had a good year with the Mets last year, but I am very concerned about those 3 guys. They are veteran players, but when we get back, I'm going to tell you why I am so concerned about these 3 guys, and maybe sort of kind of a plan for the Padres going forward. So that's all next on the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan.
mean, it's definitely, you see it and you're like, okay. But then I put myself in, the organization's shoes, and it's like, look, man, I've got 12 major league at bats. There's a high risk in just trusting me, like coming off the. So I completely understand you've got a lot of, experience value in these guys, played the game at a high level for a very long time. I mean, it would honestly be not smart, I think, in my opinion, to just go with this guy that has no experience. You have no idea, and then you're kind of stuck in season with whether I perform or not. It's a humongous risk, and I just truly can't blame them at all. I hope to prove that I can,
be one of those guys,
and be one of the guys. But I completely understand where they're coming from, and I just hope that there's an opportunity at some point.
That was Brandon Lockridge with us at spring training last week. I can't believe actually we were there last week in Peoria, Arizona, doing spring training interviews. And he was saying, hey, I'm just looking to make the team. I know why they wouldn't choose me to make the team, but, hopefully I can put myself in a position to do well enough to make the team. Well, Brandon Lockridge, that mindset right there helped you make the team. And I think there can be a lot learned from some of the interviews that we did last week and certain guys' mindset, like Gavin Sheets. Gavin Sheets has a whole different background. His dad played Major League Baseball. Brandon Lockridge, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think that there was that baseball background there for him. Either way, Brandon Lockridge had a mindset of, I'm just going to do what I can do during spring training and then let fate determine whether or not I make this team. If it doesn't happen, then you know what? I'll work harder and I'll find somewhere else where I can go play. And all he needed to do was look right where he was with the Padres. And Chris even asked that question of Brandon Lockridge. Like, the question was, you're at home, you're seeing a bunch of other guys around the league being signed, and you think that you could be signed over that guy, and you're still waiting for a job offer. How do you get through that? And Brandon Lockridge had a great answer. Hey, I only got 12 at bats. Why would they trust me to make the roster? Why would they trust me in that situation? Well, they trust you in that situation, Brandon Lockridge, because of what you did during spring training. And we saw him on the team last year at the end of the year during the playoffs. Brandon Lockridge, I hope, can possibly, I don't think he's going to establish himself as some star or anything like that, but hopefully he could just be the guy that they need him to be, a bench guy who can run the bases and can play some defense. That's all they need him to be. And so Brandon Lockridge can do some great things if he stays within himself and doesn't try to do too much, which is easier said than done. Now, before we went to break, I talked about Yuli, Gurriel, Jose Iglesias, and Martin Maldonado, and their spots on the roster. Now, Yuli Gurriel is going to be turning 41 in June. So I'm not so much worried about the age of Yuli Gurriel. I'm not worried about his. I don't get too caught up in that, because obviously he could still play if he's going to be making a major league roster. But where is he at in regards to being a 41-year-old in Major League Baseball? Last year he hit 241 with the Royals in only 18 games. The year before he played for the Marlins, he hit 245 and he had 108 games. So basically, really, in 2021, he won a batting title, 319, but 2022, 2023, and 2024 were, actually very, very consistent seasons. If you're looking at it from a perspective of he hit almost basically 245. So those 3 seasons, his average 243, his OPS 652. He only hit in 897 at bats. He hit 12 home runs, drove in 86 RBIs, and had 13 stolen bases. So that doesn't really jump off the page at me. And if you look at Martin Maldonado and what he did in the last couple of years, it's even worse. And I know we're talking about the catcher position, and lately the Padres have not had a catcher position that hits well. But last year, Maldonado played 48 games with the White Sox, and he hit 119. The year before that with the Astros, he hit 191, 186 the year before that, 172 the year before that. So in the past 4 seasons, Martin Maldonado's hit 175 with an OPS of 572. Now, I was reading this morning, because obviously his hitting is going to be an issue for them. They were saying, the team that is, they were saying that, if they can keep him around a 190 to 200 batting average, then they can stomach that. But if it's more like last year, where it's going to be a 119 batting average, then they can't really stomach that. And, that bottom half of the lineup that we were talking about last week, it's got some holes. So hopefully the other guys around Martin Maldonado can hit. If he can play defense, if he could control a pitching staff, if he could do all the things that, if he could do all the things that he is being paid to do, which is not hit. If he hits, it's icing on the cake. If he plays great defense and runs a great pitching staff, then I think he's going to be fine. But hitting 119 is not my idea of fun. 191 the year before. I mean, those are Austin Hedges numbers right there. And we all know how much we complained about Austin Hedges, even though he's a defensive guru, Austin Hedges is. So I think these guys, I am not so sure. I am not so sure about Yuli Gurriel, and I'm not so sure about Martin Maldonado being on this roster the entire season. I have to see it first. Sure, these guys are veterans. Gurriel has 2 World Series titles, I believe Mike Schilt said. Martin Maldonado has 1 World Series title. That's good. Having that experience and having someone like that in the clubhouse is good, but you also have to be able to play. I really don't want this to turn into a Matt Carpenter situation. Now, I think it's different for a couple reasons, because Matt Carpenter was making, I believe, $7 million or so in his second year, where the Padres just kept him on the roster, even though he wasn't really contributing in any way. I really think that it's different in that regard, because Matt Carpenter was making so much money, and I think that they could move off of Gurriel and Maldonado quicker than they would with Matt Carpenter. But I don't want that situation where there's a guy on the team just because he's a veteran. I think I would much rather see what other guys have than trying to stick with someone who's struggling. Now, in the beginning of the year, to start this season, I'm trusting the Padres. I'm trusting AJ Preller. I'm trusting Mike Schilt. But I don't know that I trust their ability to make a huge change, which would be, hey, Gurriel's not working out. We got to go in a different direction. Or Maldonado is not working out. We have to go in a different direction. Are they willing to do that early? Are they willing to do that before they should? Do they see the writing on the wall? Or are they just going to go business as usual, status quo, even if those guys aren't performing? I can't think that the Padres are going to let these guys not perform for very long. But the age and what they've did as of late, or what they've done as of late, is why I'm not so much into the guaranteed roster spot for Yuli Gurriel and Martin Maldonado. Maldonado, I can understand, because you need someone to play great defense at catcher. Gurriel, I don't know. You don't think, like, I guess his DHing ability is great. And then I was reading also earlier as well that during spring training, several people pointed out to Kevin Acee that him turning around a 99-mile-an-hour Jordan Hicks fastball off the wall for a double on March 9th was the moment that they all realized it was proof that he still has the ability. And I know that there's more decision-making going in than just one swing, turning around a 99-mile-an-hour fastball. But if that's what made the team for him, I'm a little worried. I am a little worried, I have to say. I just don't believe that the fountain of youth is going to be found for these guys. And each guy has their own circumstance. Again, Jose Iglesias, I'm not even talking about. Jose Iglesias came in a little bit late in spring. He actually last year, put together a nice season when he could. I mean, he only played 80 or so games And he was more than capable of holding his own at the plate. He hit 337 in 85 games last year with an OPS of 830. Now, the year before, 2 years before, when he played for the Rockies, he hit 292, 708 OPS. So there's history of Jose Iglesias being able to hit, and there's history of Jose Iglesias being able to hit recently, which was last year. So if you're looking for an older veteran to come in and be someone that you could rely on, I can totally rely on Jose Iglesias. I don't have issues because I have the proof from last year. Other two guys, Yuli Gurriel, Martin Maldonado, I am just not sure what they're going to bring. And again, I'm just hoping that the Padres have a plan, or at least are able to recognize when it's time to move on. Because if that is the case, it would hurt you way more to keep them on the roster for the long run than it would to try someone out try someone else out. I'm getting too ahead of myself now. Try someone else out, like Connor Joe. We kind of know what he can do. Oscar Gonzalez. We saw what he could do in spring training, but now you're not going to be able to try it out with Eggy Rosario. You're not going to be able to try it out with Tyler Wade because they are going to go on waivers. So at least this year, there are some options. There are some guys that you can feel like you have depth. And if you feel like you have depth, you definitely feel like you're a much stronger team heading into the season, because no team is going to stay healthy the entire time. No team is, including the Padres. So we're going to have to go and get these guys at certain points, like Connor Joe, Oscar Gonzalez. I even think Luis Campusano at some point is going to be on the major league roster. But again, I don't know how long these guys will be on the roster. So just something that we're going to have to wait and see. But my hope is that the Padres are not shy about pulling the or using the hook on the stage, taking that hook and hooking someone off the stage and putting someone else in there. And if you have to go back to a Yuli Gurriel or a Maldonado after you send them down AAA or something, I don't even know if they would send him down AAA, then you can. But you have to be able to make that decision at the right time. All right. Dan says, we are all a little scared, Matt Skraby. If not, it wouldn't be any fun. That is absolutely true. Rod's, never mind. All right. When do we get back? I want to talk about something that Jackson Merrill said over the weekend. And what are we looking at for Jackson Merrill? What are we thinking he's going to do this year? A quick conversation about that, automated balls and strikes, and then also the mobile ordering that's happening at Petco Park. We'll get into all of that in the final segment of the Skraby Show on 97.3 The Fan.
Ben and Woods on The Fan.
I hate mustard water. I will shake at least 10 times.
How about when you have hot dog water that spills like on your hand or something?
When there's just a little bit of freezer burn on the ice cream.
God.
Caller, you're on the air.
My worst thing is when you eat chicken wings or legs and you find one of the little feathers with the hair follicle.
What?
Listen to Ben and Woods weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on 97.3 The Fan.
Morning coffee, essential. A reliable car, non-negotiable. At Hyundai of El Cajon, we'll make sure your car is as dependable as your daily latte. With cutting-edge safety features, killer warranties, Hyundai of El Cajon has you covered. Lease a new 2025 Hyundai Tucson SEL for $299 per month with zero security deposit and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty with Hyundai Assurance. Only at Hyundai of El Cajon or HyundaiofElCajon.com.
New 2025 Hyundai Tucson SELE, $299 per month, $3,995 due at signing, 36 months. See dealer for details.
Hey guys, it is Woodsy, and as a parent, my top priority is making sure my family, my children, are cared for, no matter what happens. Did you know that if you pass away without a will, the state decides what happens to your assets and even your kids? Without a will, the courts, not your family, have the final say about who will raise your children. Protect your family with Trust and Will. Their simple process lets you start online and nominate guardians, plan your legacy, and secure the future of your loved ones. Take control and start the year with peace of mind. Visit trustandwill.com today. Use the code FAN for 20% off and free shipping. That's code FAN at trustandwill.com.
Hey, it's Baja Rick. Craving a taste of Baja? Rockin' Baja Lobster and Baja Rick's Cantina will treat your gang to the flavors of the Baja Coast right here in San Diego. Large parties and family gatherings are our specialty. Our big Baja bucket for two, sizzling fajitas, whole Puerto Rico-style lobster, chilled margaritas, and rockin' tunes will make every meal feel like a beachside celebration. Join us at Rockin' Baja Lobster and Baja Rick's Cantina, just steps from Petco Park in the heart of Old Town and Oceanside Harbor. Eat, drink, and be Baja.
Imagine selling your home and getting paid before and after it sells. It's like getting paid twice. You can with Orchard. Listen to this. Orchard puts cash right in your pocket so you can buy your dream home. Then your Orchard experts prepare and market your old home, including repairs, showings, even price-boosting upgrades. And here's why Orchard's the best. When your home sells for more, which happens 9 times out of 10, you get that cash too. It's almost like getting paid twice. That's why Orchard is the smarter, faster, hassle-free way to sell your home. Let's review. Orchard can unlock cash from your old home to use on your new home. That's payday number 1. You buy your new place, and once you're in, Orchard sells your old home for top dollar. You get that money too. Boom! Payday number 2. Learn how much you could make with Orchard. Start with your free home valuation at Orchard.com. That's Orchard.com. Orchard.com.
Here's how easy it is to get the yard you deserve with Moon Valley Nurseries. Our job is to design. Your job is to kick back. Our job is to deliver. Your job is to relax. Our job is to plant. Your job is to enjoy. Moon Valley Nurseries does it all, making it easy for you to get the yard you've always wanted. Guaranteed. Get 50% off plus free planting. Visit moonvalleynurseries.com.
Join the Candy Crush All-Stars Tournament now.
Hey now.
Yeah, that one, you know, was really hard. Again, more on Tyler, but you know, you know, not seeing him today was hard because you know he's got such a good energy and a way about him. You know, obviously he's a really good player, versatile player, but he's just a guy that you know has fit into our culture extremely well, and it was a tough conversation for him, and tough conversation and decision for the organization.
That was Mike Schilt talking about the decision to let Tyler Wade hit waivers, and you could tell it wasn't easy for him. These are the decisions that those are the ones that we don't really think about when we are criticizing people, and those are the decisions that really affect people and affected Mike Schilt. But Tyler Wade going to go on waivers. If he makes it through waivers, he can come back to the Padres. But I can imagine that being a pretty eye-opening conversation for Tyler Wade because, as I said already, I thought Tyler Wade was just penciled in. I thought he was on the roster, no questions asked. But there were so many other guys on the roster that made contributions here in spring that they passed him up. And that's just the dirty, dark side of the business. But I'm sure we'll see Tyler Wade somewhere else. Hopefully he's not somewhere else like crushing the Padres. That would be bad. But, that is something that would happen to Padres and Padres fans. So that was Mike Schill on Tyler Wade. And I wanted to add this to the conversation about the catching position because I didn't say this in the last segment, and I probably should have made the distinction on this. But when I'm talking about Martin Maldonado being the catcher and me being a little worried about it, he's the backup catcher. I do know that. And again, I should have said that because I was maybe talking about it in a way of he's going to get majority of the starts. He's going to be behind the plate the most. That's not true. It's going to be Diaz. Diaz is going to be the guy who's behind the plate the most. And so when you're a backup catcher, you're not really expected to do a whole lot offensively if that's not your game. So it is a little bit more acceptable for Maldonado to, maybe hit only twice a week. Maybe he catches twice a week, something like that. So he's not going to be the main everyday catcher. And I guess in that way, it does make the decision a little bit easier to have him as your backup catcher because you're not going to rely on him every single day to hit. You're just going to rely on him here and there to hit. And so I think that's a major distinction. And Maldonado is backup catcher quality, but I'm just talking about throughout the year. Like, what if he is just not hitting at all? As a backup catcher, you got to hit sometimes. And Austin Hedges was an everyday catcher. He was a defensive guru. So it's a little bit different there as well. But I wanted to make that distinction because I think that is something that we should have talked about a little bit because I was making it seem like it was end all be all, Martin Maldonado or death. And it's not like that because he's not the starting everyday catcher. So he has a little bit of a different circumstance expectation for him than the starting catcher. But you could tell that Mike Schilt did not like getting rid of Tyler Wade. And again, he's going to go somewhere else and be fine. But Tyler Wade was the player last year who I went and interviewed in the clubhouse, and then my microphone didn't work, even though I tested it, and he was awesome. So I appreciated that. Thank you, Tyler Wade. All right, let's talk about. We have a lot to talk about here in the last segment. Let's talk about Jackson Merrill this year because he had a really good spring, and he was able to. He hit another home run yesterday. He was actually talking to us last week about how he wanted to. He's a hitter, so he likes to swing, but he needs to take more walks. I didn't even know this, but according to Kevin Acee in his story, he came into the spring knowing he would be batting third this season as opposed to the back half of the lineup. He aimed to be more selective at the plate and then did not walk once in 45 plate appearances. He said, Jackson Merrill said, quote, "That was kind of annoying, but I was getting pitches to hit. I think I had long ABs, good ABs, some bad ones, but a lot of good ABs and a lot of good contact. I think a lot more power, a lot more barrel. When I hit it, it sounds a little different than it did last year," which I really enjoy hearing as well. And he put 11 of his 34 balls that he put in play in spring training were hit at 101 miles an hour or harder in Cactus League play, which tells you that Jackson Merrill is seeing the ball very well and he's connecting with the ball very well. But what I was talking to a friend over the weekend, and I don't really know what I don't really know what to expect, what to expect from him. And I'm not talking about he's going to hit 20 home runs. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. I'm talking about, are we able to expect for him to be a guy that can help carry the team on his back at certain points throughout the season? Because we all know guys slump. Manny goes into a slump. Fernando goes into a slump. They need other guys to step up. And is Jackson Merrill that guy? Now that he's hitting third, he's going to have to be that guy. But can we expect that from him? I think we should. I think we should expect for him to be able to be the guy who's going to get on base or drive some guys in. He needs to take more walks, as he said. But can he be a guy where everything comes down to him and he's the guy who's going to need to do something crazy to win the game for the Padres? Manny Machado goes 0 for 4. Everybody else, Jackson Merrill, he's 3 for 4 or something like that. Do we think that he's going to be someone who could carry the team? And the answer is yes, absolutely. This guy is built for this. I think everybody knew where I was going with this. I don't have any worries about him. He is built for this type of spotlight. He is built for this type of role. And the fact that he said that he wanted to walk more and then in 45 plate appearances didn't walk once, he said that was kind of annoying, but I was getting pitches to hit, is exactly what you want to hear from your number 3 hitter. You know, there was a guy in town who liked to walk a lot a couple years ago, and we all were kind of annoyed by it. So if Jackson can walk, then he will. But he's also going to swing at pitches that he wants to swing at. And I love that decision-making process from him. You don't really see Jackson having bad swings or getting fooled really, really terribly. Is that really, really terribly? I don't know if that my mom's probably listening is like, oh man, you're embarrassing me again with your grammar. But I haven't seen him look bad very often, if at all. But I do think that he is someone at some point in this year is going to have to step up and be a guy that can carry the team on his back. That's just how the team is built right now. You know, if he didn't have the year he did last year, maybe we're talking about the Padres needing to bring in someone else because they need to, spread it out a little bit. But no, they went all in on Jackson Merrill. They went all in on him. 292 last year, 24 home runs last year, 90 RBIs last year. That's a guy you can count on. And his mentality is a guy you can count on as well. Dan says, Merrill did it last year with late game home runs. How soon we forget? I agree. Yeah, he did. We all know what he did over that stretch last year where he was hitting game tying or go ahead home runs, some walk-off home runs last year. He has proven that he is a guy who can step up when the lights are the brightest and make it happen. And so I'm looking more for that this year. And I think we're going to get more from that. We're going to get more of that from Jackson Merrill, is what I was trying to say. All right. ABS system, automated balls and strikes. Athletic put out an article on the automated balls and strike system. And this could even go in daily gripe category. JT Realmuto, the catcher for the Phillies, said, quote, I like it as a hitter. I don't really like it as a catcher as much, just because I think it takes part of the game away, part of the catcher position. Framing is still going to matter, but it's not going to be as big of a deal. So that part I don't like. But as a hitter, I do like having the consistent strike zone. The whole framing thing has always bothered me because when you're framing something, the ball is supposed to be called a strike or a ball where it crosses the plate, not where your glove ends up. So if it's a splitter or a sinker or something and the catcher catches it low and then brings it back up and then they get the strike call, that's not a thing. That's not supposed to be a thing. Now, does it fool umpires from time to time? I'm sure it does. I've never called balls and strikes in a major league game, but I'm sure it does. But that's the whole thing about this strike zone system. Is that it's going to correct the wrongs that are being made throughout the game. And I hate the whole framing thing. I hate it. I really do. because it's not a thing. You're not supposed to be able to steal strikes because you put your glove a little bit higher. If the ball crosses the strike zone, in the strike zone, it's a strike. If it doesn't, then it's a ball. Pretty simple. But this Athletic article was talking about how, we complain about umpires a lot, and it's, I think we're doing it more and more because it's easier to do it. We see stats now from umpires. We see accuracy rates. They even get grades on Twitter after every game they're behind the plate. But Fangraphs did this whole thing on baseball umpires, and they took into account the human umps, and they went through the years. And the accuracy has gotten so much better over the years that it makes me think, why are we complaining? In 2009, the accuracy for umpires was 85.15%. In 2014, 88.33. 2019, 0.54%. 2024, 92.53%. So 92.5% of the time that a ball or strike call is made by a human umpire. I think 92% of the time, 92.5% of the time, I think that's acceptable. Now, I don't really think the automated balls and strike system either is going to take away from the game. There's only a certain number that you could do a game. You lose them. If you lose, you get them. If you keep your challenges. If you win the challenge, all of that. I don't think that's a big deal. It's not going to completely throw off the game. And umpires are pretty good. But it will help in those little situations where they absolutely need. Like Chris always mentions Jake Cronenworth getting the bat taken out of his hands in the bottom of the ninth. And in that case, it was a ball called a strike, so he would have hit his helmet. It would have been a strike called a ball. The game would go on. I think that's what it's for. It's not for every single pitch. So when people get all up in arms about this automated balls and strike system, I don't understand it because it's not going to take over the entire game. And it's not going to change the outcome of every single game that is played. Sometimes I doubt. What if we don't even have any challenges in games? I just think it's a good option to have. I really do. And I think they're going to be putting this into Major League Baseball here next season. Not this season, next season. But it's on its way. It's on its way.
What's annoying Skraby today? Let's find out. It's time for the Daily Gripe.
I forgot one thing. Mobile ordering at Petco Park, and then we'll get into the Daily Gripe. There will no longer, for increased safety, there will be no vendors walking the aisles selling beer, peanuts, popcorn, cotton candy, ice cream, and other treats. Fans at Petco Park can access food and drink info through the MLB Ballpark app on their cell phone and use it to purchase meals, snacks, drinks, and other items. Now, I don't know how you get the food. I would assume you go get it or they bring it to you. I would think you have to go get it. I'm going to look into that a little bit more. But I don't know how I feel about this. Get your popcorn, eh? Just part of the game. Maybe I should have been... See, maybe my calling was to be one of those people. And now they're no longer there anymore. That's crazy. I love those guys. And there's some guys and gals that have been doing this for years and years and years and years. There's something about get your popcorn here, get your beer, cold beer here. I just love doing it. But there's something about that. But it's going to be no more. They're taking it away. You have to order through your Ballpark app now, which I'm sure is easy to do, but it's not as fun. It's not as fun. It's still one of the only times in human history at this point where we all kind of help each other out. If you need an ice cream, everybody passes it down to the middle, and then you pass the money back to the person who is selling it. We all came together. We did. All right, Daily Gripe. I didn't get a chance to talk about this as much as I wanted to. Magoon Gwath and Nick Boyd, they transferred. I don't like it when people tell us one thing and then they do another, which, again, I will say, I am guilty of this. I have done this in my life. I am not perfect. But if someone asks me, hey, are you going to be with the team next year? Something that's that important, I can't really put myself in their position, but I wouldn't say, let's run it back. Can't wait for next year. And then 3 days later say that you're going to be transferring. I have no issues with Nick Boyd and Magungwath getting the money and transferring. No issues. It's the fibs. It's the fibs that bother me. If you don't know, say you don't know. If you do know, just say, hey, we'll see. I just lost the game. All right, that's it for the Skraby Show. Back tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.